Now, I mentioned cultural Marxism, which is a term you've probably heard more and more lately, and we don't really have time to get into it too much. But real quick, cultural Marxism most often refers to a neo-Nazi conspiracy theory that progressives and liberals and the media are all secret communists intent on destroying the West. It stems from cultural Bolshevism, an old Nazi insult for art, and Hitler's distaste for Marxism because its eternal privilege would lead to the disappearance of all order and provoke chaos. It's a conspiracy that's meant to destroy Western civilization and its traditional modes of being. There's no systemic racism or sexism or homophobia in America, you see. These concepts were made up by Marxists, whose failed economics policies forced them to invent cultural inequalities in order to destabilize the West for the purposes of instituting socialism. Cultural Marxism, the conspiracy, might be presented as the reason behind overly sexual and degenerate behavior in pop culture, whereas a Marxist critique of culture, or little c, cultural Marxism, might be that pop culture is sexual because sex sells and capitalism is bad. But the phrase cultural Marxism hasn't been an oft-used term until recently, maybe because for so long it was used as a neo-Nazi conspiracy theory, but it's basically a synonym for SJWs, or the regressive left, or progressives, or postmodern neo-Marxism, or according to this video about classical liberalism by a classical liberal partially funded by classical liberal billionaires, now we're just saying cultural Marxism again.
This postmodernism, this cultural Marxism, or whatever you want to call it.
Or postmodernism, apparently. Just whatever you want to call it. So, cultural Marxism it is. And this all illustrates the unavoidable truth that fascism arises from a reaction to and a despising of the left, when identity is focused less on what you believe and more on what you hate. Anything to trigger the libs. In Fascism, a very short introduction, Kevin Passmore partly defines fascism as having an implacable hostility to socialism and feminism, seen as prioritizing class or gender rather than nation. Like, maybe a movement run by a friend of the Trump family that spreads the message, socialism sucks, or maybe a professional provocateur paid by Trump's campaign manager to popularize fascist ideas and white supremacy, popularizing the phrase, feminism is cancer. Paxton mentions some other emerging enemies for extreme right groups in Europe in recent decades: globalization, foreigners, multiculturalism, environmental regulation, high taxes, and the incompetent politicians who could not cope with these challenges. Wow, what a clip that was from the show! Thanks for watching, and make sure to subscribe to this channel as well as our other channel where the full episodes are. It's called Some More News. This is called Some More News Clips, which you know because you just watched it. Anyway,